speak and communicate just like me. And that's why I want to teach you this compelling vocabulary that I think you need to know. And if you are someone who enjoys supercharging your vocabulary, please subscribe, turn on notifications. That way I can become your teacher. My name is Wes. The channel is Interactive English. It is all about helping you reach your fluency goals. Now, this is a quiz lesson, so I want you to participate. That's the first thing that I want to say. And the next thing is that these words are, I think they're a little more advanced, even though I think you're going to recognize and you're familiar with some of them already, because I think they are still often used. Now, you can use other words in their place, and I'll talk about that, but I think when it comes to building your vocabulary and just constantly improving, this is incredibly useful, and I think it's going to help build your confidence as well as just be more descriptive and precise when you're having a conversation. The next thing that I want to mention, if you would like to practice and improve your speaking skills, you can check out my speaking course. There is a link down below in the description. These are small group classes for intermediate to advanced speakers, and that is one way that you can just speak directly with me, and we do a bunch of different engaging speaking activities. So let's go ahead and begin. I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm wasting no time this year, and I'll give some shout outs as we go through this. I see some familiar faces, some members. So let's begin with some compelling verbs. And of course, I'm using a word like compelling just to capture your attention and really emphasize that, yeah, I think this vocabulary is useful. These verbs are incredibly useful. So here is the first question. I am giving you the sentence and the meaning down below. I'm also giving you the first word of the verb. He chose to his university application for a year. So it begins with a D, and the meaning is to put off either an action or an event to a later time. Essentially, you are postponing this thing that you are doing. Now, I think when you're talking about an application, this is a verb that you will often use. Of course, you could say put off and use that phrasal verb, but phrasal verbs are a little more informal. You could use postpone, that would work as well, but specifically, we're talking about a word that I think maybe you're familiar with it. We're not talking about delay. That's another word that you could use, but this word is a little more advanced than delay. Of course, delay is a very common verb, which I think definitely you should also know that verb as well. But can you think of any other words? Begins with a D, to his application for another year. So I chose this context because I think it is often used in this context when you are delaying something. I'm going to use the word that I saw down there. Instead of using that, you can use defer. To defer something is when you put it off to a later time. Essentially, you're postponing it, you're delaying it. And when talking about an application, you can do this. So you can defer an application, you can defer your enrollment. You may commonly hear this verb when talking about something related to school. Defer an application, defer enrollment. In this case, he chose to defer his university application for a year. And you're just waiting a year before doing this thing. Excellent. Monsoon, Bellarosa, Jordan, good job. I don't know. I got many more for you guys. And hopefully, if this is a new verb, it's one just to keep in mind, to defer something. Because I said that I want to help you supercharge your vocabulary, not just build your vocabulary, but really supercharge it, I wanted to share with you some common collocations with this verb. These are words that are frequently used together, so you can defer a decision. Once again, you're putting it off. You may often follow this verb with for or until when you want to specify the time. So you may defer a decision for 3 weeks, and I'm using for with that period of time. Or you can defer a decision until the end of the month. And now I'm really talking about that specific time until the end of the month. And you can really follow any of these phrases with for or until when you want to specify an amount of time. But you can also defer a payment. You can defer work, something that I I like to do, even though others might say that I am procrastinating, and they may use the verb to procrastinate instead, which is one I can relate to. You can also defer a discussion, or you can defer entry, or even defer responsibility. You're just putting it off to to a later time when you defer something. The next one. She refused to a plan she didn't fully support. Think about the context. There is some plan, and they say, will you support this? Will you this plan? Begins with the letter E. It means to make a public statement that you approve of this thing. You support it, and you're either supporting something or someone. And you are going to, I don't want to give it away. I was about to say it. Not execute. The key word here is support. This public statement of support. This is a verb that you may often hear when talking about politics. And there is a campaign going on. And you are, somebody is going to a candidate, and you would use this verb. So again, it begins with an E, and it's talking about this public statement of support. So the verb that we're talking about, excellent, Manuel, Julia. Manuel, great to see you. You too, Lolly, good to see so many members here, is to endorse. To endorse someone or something is you're just showing your approval, support for this thing or this person, to endorse something. She refused to endorse a plan that she didn't fully support. But like I said, you may hear this when talking about politics, and you might endorse a candidate and you support this person for public office. I forgot that I had this up there. I thought it was funny. Me and the boys, after endorsing each other's skills on LinkedIn. I don't know where this picture's from, this military picture. It's like North Korea or something, but they have all that, those medals, just, hey, yeah, you did a good job. I endorse your skills, endorse your skills. But speaking of LinkedIn, I'm not too active on LinkedIn. I don't know if this is still something that you can do, but you can endorse somebody else's skills and say, yes, this person is great at public speaking, or they have skills in marketing or public relations or whatever it may be. So that is another context in which you may use or hear this verb, to endorse someone or something. Great verb to know. Otherwise, I wouldn't be teaching it. How about this one? He his authority during the negotiations. This is a verb that means to state a fact or belief confidently, positively, or forcefully. So this is, I think maybe this is a little trickier. It begins with the letter A. Every time I say that, I feel like people mostly get the right answer. But his authority during the negotiation. You're communicating in this way that is, confident, positive, forceful. And what verb can you use that really captures those three things? Confidence, positive, and that you're right, and you're doing it in a little more of a forceful way. So as I just mentioned, every time I say, I think it's going to be a little more difficult. I think people start throwing in the correct answer. Well done, Alana, Katarina, Alan, Katarina. We're talking about to assert, asserted. He asserted his authority during the negotiations. This is a word that I think is a bit stronger when you assert your authority in this context, and you're really displaying a level of confidence. You're displaying a level of even forcefulness. To give you a little more context, or not to give you more context, but to give you some more collocations. As you can tell, I'm a big fan of common collocations. Here are some other words that may be frequently used with the verb to assert. You can assert one's rights. You can assert your innocence. You could assert your authority, like in our example. You can assert your control or assert your dominance or assert your independence. So keep in mind how, the words that are being used. We talk about asserting dominance or authority or control, and there really is this element of forcefulness in that context. And on the other end, when you're asserting your independence, your freedom, your rights, that's also emphasizing it, but really in the other way that has more of a positive connotation. But great job, Lolly, Julia. Excellent answers. Here we go. The next one. Some analyst that the market will recover quickly. So I'm using, I wanted to use this one after the own because it has in the meaning. You're asserting something as a position in an argument. What verb has this meaning? To assert something as a position in an argument. And we're using that verb to assert. Again, what do you think? Any guesses? Write your answers in the chat. After all, this is Interactive English. I want you to participate in these lessons. That's what it's all about. So some analyst starts with the letter C, that the market will recover quickly. So they're asserting this in a way that shows that they're confident, and you're going to use this verb. Some analyst, what do you think? Any guesses? Don't be shy, all right? Even if you get it wrong, doesn't matter. Nobody, doesn't really matter. In this situation, which you're, watching this at home or somewhere else on your phone, on your computer, nobody's going to judge. Doesn't matter if you write the wrong answer down. Can you think of a verb that has this meaning that begins with the letter C? If not, maybe this is a new one for you, which is great. I love it when people learn new things. To contend. When you contend something, you are asserting something like this is my position in this argument. So some analysts contend that the market will recover quickly. So they're trying to make this argument, this is my position, I believe it's going to recover quickly, and they contend that the market will recover quickly. If this verb is new, you can let me know. Hit that like button, hit those smiley buttons, doesn't matter. I love it when I see that everybody is maybe coming across a word or two that they're unfamiliar with. And building your vocabulary, it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's always good to get the initial exposure if it's something completely new, and then hopefully go back to it in the coming weeks and just slowly move it into your active memory. Let's switch gears now and talk about some compelling nouns. Once again, I want to grab your attention with these nouns. So the first one right here is this one. Maybe people did get contend. The chat took a little time to catch up right now. Let's just move to the next one, though. The committee struggled to build among members with opposing views. The committee struggled to build among members with opposing views. I would say maybe I think I maybe missed an article in there, not a big thing, but to build a something. Begins with the letter C, and the meaning is we're talking about a generally accepted opinion among a group. I think this is a word that is one that you've heard, you've come across, maybe even you use it actively, and if this is a noun that you actively use, that is wonderful. I love hearing that. So what do you think? We're talking about a generally accepted opinion among a group is what? What do you think? In this case, you're trying to build a So well done. Yes, Julia, Manuel, Lepintre, sorry I mispronounced. And Vicky, Gustav, good to see you. Welcome. Consensus is the noun that we're looking for. If you're talking about a consensus, then you're referring to this generally accepted opinion among a group of people, like, for example, a scientific consensus, and trying to understand, well, what do most people believe when it comes to this thing? What is the common opinion that people have or share, and that is the consensus. Sometimes you need to have a consensus in order to make a decision, and everybody kind of has to agree. So the committee struggled to build a consensus. I'm going to add that article in there. To build a consensus among members with opposing views. Once again, you see this theme. I'm just throwing these phrases at you. So once again, here are some more common collocations. Hopefully it helps make it a little more sense, but also understanding how this noun is commonly used. You might hear these are all different adjective noun collocations. A broad consensus or a general consensus. This is a common one, and we need to have a general consensus before we make a final decision. There might be an overwhelming consensus. In that case, maybe 95% of the people share the same opinion, and it is an overwhelming consensus. There might be a clear consensus, a growing consensus, or I think I already mentioned that last one, a scientific consensus about what people should or should not do as it pertains to their health. Great noun to know, one that I hope that you may already be familiar with and even use actively right now. The contracts led to multiple interpretations. Begins with the letter A. Another noun that I think is a good one to know refers to something that is unclear or confusing, or it can be understood in more than one way. This is a word that we're talking about the noun, but you may often hear people use this as an adjective as well. Of course, the word's going to change, part of the same word family, but often it's used as an adjective, but we can still use it as a noun, as it is in this example, refers to something, look, it's a little unclear, it's confusing, there is some or you can understand it in more than one way. Like in this example, there are multiple interpretations. Which word very specifically follows that meaning? What do you think? So we're talking about the word ambiguity. Ambiguity refers to something that is unclear or confusing. It can be understood in more than one way. The contract's ambiguity led to multiple interpretations. I said that you may often hear this word used as an adjective, and then in that case, you're going to say something is ambiguous. Ambiguity, the noun, ambiguous, the adjective. Two words that I think you definitely should know, because this is something I think we come across in our daily lives. And you see something, whether it's a contract or you're not sure how to interpret it, and you say, yeah, there's a bit of ambiguity, so I'm not really sure what this is trying to say. To give you an example related to English learning, I think maybe all of you can appreciate this. Oh, I meant to say something beforehand. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. I wanted to give you the sentence, and I wanted to ask you which one kind of you were thinking of. So the sentence is, I saw the man with the telescope. And in English, there exists this ambiguity where I can say this sentence, but there's more than one way to interpret it. I saw the man with the telescope. Which one do you think of? You can let me know in the chat, in the comments. Are you thinking, when you hear this sentence, are you imagining number one, and that this boy has the telescope? Or are you imagining number two, that you saw this man, and this man is holding a telescope? I saw the man with the telescope. Which one, you hear that sentence, do you imagine? But the whole point is that both of them are correct. You really have to put it into context, or depending on the situation, you may have to ask for more information and be like, well, wait a second. Were you looking through the telescope, or did you see somebody walking and they were holding a telescope? But this is a great example of ambiguity in the English language, and there are other sentences as well. It's a reason why the language can be a little confusing. But I imagine most of the time, if you were to use a sentence like this, probably you would understand the context and you think, okay, yeah, this person, they're looking through the telescope, and that is how they saw the man. But either one could be correct. Just an example of ambiguity. The long rehearsals help build a strong sense of among the musicians. The meaning of this noun is mutual trust and friendship among people who spend a lot of time together. And if we're in this situation talking about people who are playing together, they're rehearsing together, and there was a strong sense of what? What noun that begins with the letter C are we going to use? And it has this meaning referring to mutual trust or friendship among this group. There is a specific word. I don't see it just yet. So I'll give you another moment to think of all of those C nouns that may have this meaning. Coherence is not the answer that I'm thinking of. You wouldn't really, a strong sense of coherence. It sounds a little awkward in this context. There is another noun that is certainly more precise when you're talking about a group of people. The other key word would be in the meaning, which is friendship. Think about friendship when you're trying to think of this word. So I saw some answers. Excellent. At HCT, Manuel, camaraderie. Camaraderie refers to that friendship when you're talking about a group of people, and there's real camaraderie among a group. The long rehearsals help build a strong sense of camaraderie among the musicians. So anytime you're talking about a group that's getting along and they're friends, and you could say, yeah, there's there's camaraderie among the group of students or the group of musicians or whatever group it may be, and there is this strong sense of camaraderie. How about the next one? Once again, it's a language learning example, so hopefully you guys you would appreciate it. Learning a new language requires patience and what? Begins with the letter R. The meaning is the ability to be happy, successful, etc., again after something difficult or bad has happened. Language learning, there are, as you know, I've tried to learn several languages in my life. There are ups, there are downs, there are times where you feel invincible, like, gosh, I'm learning so much, this is great. And then other times where you feel like, I forgot, so many things. I feel like I can't communicate or speak coherently. But in that case, it requires patience and what? That starts with the letter R. It is a great noun, especially in this context. And well done, Alan, Katarina. Takayo, good to see you. Resilience. Resilience is the noun that we were looking for. This means the ability to be happy. Because it is, resilience is more obviously than happiness, but it's like you're more happy, positive, successful, things are going well, especially after a time when you were in a little bit of a slump. And you could say that someone is resilient. And I'm using it as an adjective now just to point out that you may often use this verb as an adjective, resilient, but as a noun, resilience. Either one works. They're both part of the same word family. And once again, I think it's worth it to know both of them. To give you a little more context with this word, here are some news headlines that I think are pretty recent, just to help you better understand how the noun is used. Writing builds resilience by changing your brain, helping you face everyday challenges. That's true. I hope you all write a little bit in English. You're writing now. So you're practicing vocabulary, writing skills, your listening skills, because you're listening to me. This is a great lesson. King urges kindness and resilience in Christmas message. How 2025 showcased the power and resilience of science. And then finally, Bangladesh's LNG dependence raises concerns about energy resilience. And we're using that noun resilience in each of those news headlines. Just another way that I like to introduce and teach these words. All right, we're moving on to a different part of speech. Adjectives. Let's learn some compelling adjectives. Of course, they're compelling, they're important, they're useful. All of the above. He appreciated her feedback, even though it was difficult to hear. Of course, you could probably just take that adjective out and just say feedback, but if I want to be a little more precise, a little more descriptive, and describe the type of feedback, which does give you more information, I could then use this word, which means honest and telling the truth, especially about something that is difficult, painful, or maybe you struggle telling this other person. But in that case, you're going to say it anyway. You think this person should know, and you just want to be what? The sincere works, sincere feedback. I think that is a common collocation. But I think to try to hone in a little bit more on this word, it's not sincere. Think of the word honest. This is another synonym for honest. And in that case, instead of saying somebody is honest, you could say that they are very what? Well done, Rosie, Julia. We're talking about candid feedback. There are other collocations as well when talking about sincere feedback or constructive feedback. That's another common adjective that's used when talking about feedback. But in this case, when wanting to really hone in on that being honest and truthful when trying to share something with somebody else. He appreciated her candid feedback, even though it was difficult to hear. And you could say that somebody is candid. They are being honest about something that maybe is a little difficult to share with someone else. This is I say this with all the words. I was about to say, it's a great adjective to know. It is. All right. All of these are great words. Here is maybe an example more from even before my childhood, but part of it kind of goes back to the 80s. So this is an advertisement. Pick it up and smile. You may be on candid camera. So this was a TV show a long time ago, even before my time. But even when I was a child, there was a show that it kind of evolved over time, and it was called Candid Camera. And basically, they would put people in situations to see how they would react. And they're calling it Candid Camera because you're getting the way people honestly behave in this situation. Like they see trash on the street, and they're showing people walking along who's going to pick it up, who's going to walk on by, and finally it's like kind of a prank channel. Well, they have YouTube channels nowadays, but it's like a prank TV show, seeing how people would react, and then they tell them, "Oh, you're on camera. You're on candid camera." It is like a hidden camera to see how people honestly behave in certain situations. Another example, a long explanation of me trying to tie in the word candid right there. His preparation contributed to the project's success. This adjective, and I'm not giving you the first letter anymore, making it a little more challenging. I think you guys know many of these words anyway, which is great. Means showing great attention to detail. You're very careful and precise. And in that case, you could say someone is what? Now, there may be more than one adjective that kind of fits this description, but I told you this is a little bit more of an advanced word. At least I think it is, even though it's one that does get used, especially in a work context, because you want people that pay close attention to detail, and you want somebody to be very what? His preparation contributed to the project's success. And the key phrase in there is that attention to detail. Excellent, Lolly, Takayo, Monica, meticulous is the adjective that we're looking for. I think this is a useful one, especially when talking about work and you want someone to really pay close attention. Like, look, you really need to be meticulous. Or you want to describe a colleague and give this person a compliment, because this is a good thing. If someone is meticulous and say he or she is very meticulous, They always get it right, and all of the information is accurate because they pay close attention, and he or she is very meticulous. I've provided a lot of language learning sentences in this lesson today, which is relevant. I don't know why. Sometimes these random things just tend to come out. She has a appetite for learning languages. The meaning is very eager for something, especially a lot of food. So this is I'm going to share some, I think I'm going to share some other collocations with this. This is a common collocation, a appetite. Now, you could use it in the context of literally, eating food. However, I'm using it in the context of for learning something new, for learning new languages. Of course, you could say, a strong appetite, that works, but that's not the word I'm looking for. This is a word that is descriptive. It is not an everyday adjective that you're going to come across all the time. But if you really want to emphasize just how strong or eager it is that somebody wants to, in this case, learn new languages, and you could say that she has a voracious appetite. Well done. Saw a correct answer in there somewhere. J. Roger, excellent. So you could say somebody has a voracious appetite when talking about eating, but you could use it in other contexts as well. Like I said, we're talking about somebody who's eager to learn and they just want to learn so many different languages, and you could say they have a voracious appetite. It does have a positive connotation in this context. So more phrases with this adjective. One thing I want you to keep in mind, you may often follow it with the preposition for, not just for this first one, but all of these as well. So you have a voracious appetite for something if you want to actually say what the thing is, but you could also describe someone as a voracious reader or a voracious consumer or a voracious eater, which would specifically be referring to food, or a voracious predator. Those are some common collocations with this word. Again, this one is not as common as some of the others that we talked about. If we're comparing adjectives, I think you're much more likely to come across the word meticulous than you are voracious. That's just my opinion. I'd have to double check with Ngram Viewer. But still, this lesson, I mentioned it at the very beginning, is all about supercharging your vocabulary. Here is the next one. While the idea was ambitious, a plan was needed to make it work. The meaning of this word is you're dealing with issues in a reasonable, logical, and realistic way. Essentially, the word that I'm highlighting here, which I'm going to teach you in just a moment, it's kind of a synonym for all of those: reasonable, logical, realistic. There are even other adjectives that I think you could use in this context. So this is a good way of just getting the vocabulary juices flowing. What word would accurately fit in there? While the idea was ambitious, a plan was needed to make it work. I just want to see how creative we can be as a group collectively, and the adjectives. I don't see the answer in there just yet. This is a word, I told you, it's really like a sense, meaning reasonable, logical, realistic, sensible works. Grounded, you could say that. I don't think that's as commonly used. Effective. And the word that I'm trying to teach you right there, more in a work context. Well done, Julia, HTT, pragmatic. I would also, one word that comes to mind, practical is another one that you could use. I think if somebody is pragmatic, they are also practical. So really, these are all loosely synonyms: pragmatic, practical, realistic, reasonable, logical. if you're describing someone as very pragmatic. The only thing that I would say is that I do think this adjective is one that may be more, you might come across more in a work setting or work context. While the idea was ambitious, a pragmatic plan was needed to make it work. I'm going to say it again. Great adjective to know. Some of my favorite. I always love a good adverb. So that's why I saved the best for last, and I wanted to teach you some compelling adverbs. And I do think these are a little more difficult, a little more challenging. The team won, leaving no doubt about their dominance. It means completely or in a very definite way. So what adverb can we use to describe how the team won? I believe all of these are ly adverbs. I'll go ahead and tell you that, talking about how or the manner in which something happens. So the team won how? Leaving no doubt about their dominance. And the meaning of this adverb is completely or in a very definite way. This is an adverb, but I feel like this word, as part of the word family, is one that you may come across as an adjective as well. So write your answers in the comments, in the chat, even if you're watching this later. I just love it when people are participating in these lessons. That is what makes this. That is what makes this interactive. That is the essence of interactive English. The team won what? Any guesses? We get to these adverbs and then everybody's just mums the word right now. So the adverb, I'll go ahead and give it to you. Perhaps maybe the feed is slowed down a little bit. Resoundingly is the adverb that talking about the team won resoundingly, leaving no doubt about their dominance. In this case, if something is done resoundingly, completely, in a very definite way. I mentioned you may use this as an adjective. It was a resounding victory. In that case, I'm kind of saying the same thing, that it was just a complete victory, but I'm using it as an adjective. The next, to give you a little more context with this adverb, in case this is new. I always love it when you learn new words or get exposure to some new words. Here are some more news headlines using this adverb. Guineans resoundingly approve a new constitution, pave way for elections. That is a collocation with this adverb, to resoundingly approve of something. So let's say that you have an overwhelming consensus and everybody has the same opinion, and then you resoundingly approve some measure that paves the way for these elections. The next headline, Air Canada Cabin Crew Union resoundingly rejects pay package. Kind of using the opposite. So that's another collocation you may use with this adverb. Resoundingly approve, resoundingly reject. Conservative wins resoundingly in Chile's presidential election. And then finally, Epstein file bill passes resoundingly in the House with only one no vote. These are all fairly recent news headlines. In case some of the news, the information looks familiar to you, I try to take things that are pretty recent. He defended his position throughout the debate. What adverb could we use? This is a little trickier when it comes to these adverbs, but the meaning of it is doing something in a way that is strong, steady, and determined without changing, hesitating, or becoming weaker. So you have this determination. You're not going to change. You're not going to hesitate. And you're going to do something, what? Just as a reminder, this is an ly adverb. Write your answers in the comments, in the chat. If you happen to have any guesses as to the word that I'm talking about. He defended his position. I think things did freeze up a little bit there, which is why the chat kind of delayed. Sorry about that. Saw some answers in there. So the word that we're talking about, he defended his position. You have that determination. You're not going to change. And in that case, you do something unwaveringly. Unwaveringly. I saw a couple answers. Well done if you wrote unwaveringly. He unwaveringly defended his position throughout the debate. You can use this when talking about how somebody is doing something, and you're really want to capture that the idea that you're doing it and with a lot of determination. You're not going to change. You're not going to hesitate. And in this case, this person unwaveringly defended his position. Great adverb. Right. She spoke to ensure everyone understood her message. What do you think? She spoke to ensure everyone understood her message. This is an adverb that I think is commonly used, more common than unwaveringly or resoundingly. You're going to come across this. It just means carefully thought out in advance. It was planned, studied, it was intentional, and you do something, what? All right. Welcome, Sherry. All right, new member. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you for joining the community. Love seeing that. Love seeing members in here right now, like Manuel, Lolly, Gustav. So don't overthink this, because this is a pretty common adverb. And yeah, there's probably more than one that you could use. Sorry, I see like the sun is setting and it's kind of casting this shadow right now. She spoke to ensure everyone understood her message. Of course, I think confidently works, clearly works. You could use those adverbs succinctly. Sure, that's a good one. This is one that I think is pretty common. And I'm talking about the word deliberately. She spoke deliberately to ensure everyone understood her message. If you do something deliberately, it is planned, it is intentional, you gave it a lot of thought, and I feel like now that you see the adverb that I'm talking about, you're like, yes, I know this word, I use it, that's perfect. Try to mix it up a little bit between some very more common words and others that are a bit more precise. So here are some common collocations with this adverb. You might deliberately ignore someone, or deliberately avoid, or deliberately refuse, deliberately withhold, deliberately deceive, deliberately mislead, or say that something is deliberately vague. And if something is deliberately vague, it could very well be ambiguous, and there might be some ambiguity in that case. This is just the tip of the iceberg. With an adverb like this, there are a lot more collocations that you could use with this adverb. I just wanted to share some phrases that you may certainly come across when we're talking about the word deliberately. The manager negotiated better terms for the contract. Accurately assessing situations or people, perceptively. What adverb has that meaning? The manager negotiated better terms for the contract. There are, you could probably come up with other different adverbs that would correctly fit in this context. And this is another reason why I enjoy doing lessons like this, because I'll give you the word that I'm thinking of, but oftentimes you could use another one. So it is really just getting the vocabulary juices flowing and trying to think of different nouns, verbs, adjectives, or in this case, adverbs that fit the sentence. The manager negotiated. So how is this person negotiating? What adverb, it is an ly adverb, could we use that means accurately assessing situations or people perceptively? So I apologize. I think, okay, I thought it froze, the chat froze. So I'll just go ahead. I'll give you my answer in just a moment. But words that you could use that I think are good, that it's not the one that I was thinking of, meticulously. I like we can use that as an adverb. Precisely, skillfully. You might skillfully negotiate something. Another great adverb we could use in this context. I don't know if I would use like vividly in this case. Shrewdly is another adverb that you could use. Surely, I don't know if I would use that when talking about negotiating. But let me go ahead and give you the word that I was thinking of because I did see it up there. Somebody did mention it. I think it was you, Katerina. Astutely. Astutely, the manager astutely negotiated better terms for the contract. Means accurately assessing situations or people perceptively. But as I just said, there are other words that I think you could use in this context. My personal opinion, the one that somebody used, I do like when we're talking about negotiations and saying somebody is a shrewd negotiator or shrewdly negotiating. In that case, it makes me think they are a very tough negotiator and you're really trying to get what it is, to get what you want. Here are all of the words that we talked about in today's lesson, all of the verbs, the nouns, the adjectives, the adverbs. I hope that you were familiar with some of them. I hope that maybe 1, 2, 3, or even more were new and you're just getting that exposure because that is the first step when it comes to supercharging your vocabulary, which is something that I absolutely want to help you do this year. If you enjoyed this lesson and learned something new, you can let me know by hitting that like button. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon for another lesson in the future. So long.